Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and what you are looking at is from the Great Depression, when people were forming lines to try to get their money out of banks, and many of the people couldn't get to their money. And then this is what you're seeing. This is First Republic Bank that you're seeing this weekend. And literally, there are people that are saying similar things to what was said during the financial crisis, was that if such and such isn't done by Monday morning, or before Monday morning, that we are in a heap of trouble. There's so much to cover, and I want to show it all to you, but first thing I want to show you is this.
Until the rest of the world loses enough faith that the U.S. dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency.
Well, people still have confidence in the dollar and the Federal Reserve. I don't know why they've gotten so many things wrong, but eventually the world is going to leave the U.S. dollar. The dollar is going to collapse. Money is going to flow into other currencies. It's going to flow into real money, gold and silver. It's going to go into real assets, stocks, real estate, mostly outside the United States, because we're going to be the epicenter of a coming currency crisis and sovereign debt crisis that's going to make the financial crisis of 2008 look like a Sunday school picture.
Well, I've always thought that he was right about all of this stuff. He's been saying it for a long time, but the one part of it that I don't think he ever takes into consideration is that there will be digital currencies that are involved in this change too. But gold and silver, he is 1,000% right about. This is Jason Cousins, CEO of Glint, who is one of my sponsors. You may have seen in the news about Silicon Valley Bank has collapsed with its failure being overseen by U.S. and U.K. regulators. Please be assured that Glint client money is not held with any SVB bank. Client funds in the U.K. continue to be protected and held safe at Lloyds Bank, a U.K.-based Tier 1 bank, and U.S. client funds at Sutton Bank, a MasterCard issuing bank and member of the FDIC. Glint is a reliable alternative to fractional reserve banking. Client gold is allocated gold. Your gold is legally owned outright by you, and unlike banks, is never put at risk through lending. Gold is stored in a secure non-government, non-bank Swiss vault that is insured. Gold is security. Glint is key. There's a link in the top of the description of this video. A Glint account is not a bank account, or it's not fractional reserve banking. Now, there's a lot of controversy right now. I won't say controversy, but everybody wants to know if Ripple had exposure at SVB Bank. Now, just about everybody in Silicon Valley, from what I can tell, had some exposure. And but anyway, David Schwartz has replied, Ripple has said nothing. Brad Garlinghouse has said nothing. I'll show you the indications that we have so far. First, David Schwartz says, Ripple will issue a statement shortly. I can't say anything until they do. He's made two comments like this. Now, this is the only indication of anything that I've seen from Ripple. Stuart Alderati liked a couple of tweets. The first one he liked having to do with this. First one was from Mitt Romney. Silicon Valley Bank shareholders and executives lose it all, as they should. Depositors in good faith, however, should recover and have access to their deposits in order to meet their payrolls, pay their suppliers, and to prevent contagion. And then this one down here, it says the Treasury Department and FDIC must communicate loudly and clearly that depositors will be protected. The investors and executives of SBV should bear risk and lose, but this should not mean that workers go without paychecks on Monday or small businesses collapse. So you can kind of see where Stuart Alderati's coming from what he likes. We all remember that Ripple has $1 billion in the bank, and so everybody's asking how much of that billion was exposed in this SVB thing. I said, if I'm Ripple and I had an account at SVB, I'm waiting to find out what the feds are going to do first so I can say what my damage is. Now, so then this was put out. This guy says, I have a feeling they have a very close relationship with SVB. Let's hope for the best. This could be catastrophic. Let's see. This is Christina Campbell, who's the CFO at Ripple, and what they're showing here was a hosted by NASDAQ and Silicon Valley Bank, Kristen Campbell. So there is a relationship there. So we have to assume there's something. We hope it's not. Surely it wouldn't be the whole billion, because that would not be a good policy of risk management, I don't believe. Check this comment out from Stephanie Starr. Does anyone else find the timing of all this just so coincidental? Banks failing, XRP days from clarity, all right before Europe, SWIFT, and FedWire launch ISO 20022, March 20th. This next week is going to be interesting, no question about that. Then this person speculates whether Ripple would buy SVB. I'm not really weighing in on any of that, but I do want you to hear this. Now, if you want to hear you want to really hear what's going on behind the scenes, you need to, I don't know if he's doing one today, but this Mario Nawfal, he keeps doing these Twitter spaces where they're talking about this, and he's got a lot of high profile people coming in and talking shop about what's going on with this SVB thing. So listen to what was said here on yesterday.
There's only two solutions I can think of. I'm not talking about Circle, I'm talking about the Silicon Valley Bank. It's a government bailout or a CBDC. I think there's only two. I don't think they're going to find
without putting my tinfoil hat on, the events of the last 6 months, the collapse of FTX, the general compression in risk assets, the collapse of Signature Bank. I mean, if somebody were trying to set a stage for a CBDC, this would be the perfect fucking stage. I mean, first they shook the confidence in general consumer related access to crypto. And I know crypto maxis will be like, well, no, Bitcoin, crypto is one thing, Bitcoin is one thing. That's not the point I'm making. I'm saying,
let me add to that. First, they shook the confidence of crypto, FTX. Then this past week, they attacked Bitcoin from the mining and taxes. And there was a lawsuit, as I recall, and they attack Ethereum out of nowhere. So it's like they're trying to lose complete credibility in crypto, now complete credibility in the banking system.
The general consumer that was involved, for the massive influx of participation and volume that happened in crypto, it did happen through these centralized exchanges. It's just the truth. And because of all that volume being shaken and the confidence in it being shaken with the FTX debacle, now the same thing has happened for growth and tech-related startups. But more broadly, now people are kind of unsure. I mean, Elon tweeted a meme about this today as a joke, but it's kind of true in a way where it says, crypto isn't safe, put your money in banks. Banks aren't safe, put your money in crypto. Like, it's that effect that has been created. And look, I'm not saying it's permanent or it'll last, but it is serious right now, both in crypto and in the venture capital space. And so the question becomes, where do people want to put their money? And I think the Fed's going to come flying in on what they think is a proverbial white horse.
The Fed come flying in with a CBDC on a white horse. Well, you do have to ask the question, who has been talking about all the central banks they're working with on building CBDCs on a private ledger, idea being XRP could be used as a bridge. And look at what Ripple tweeted out today. They haven't commented on SVB Bank. None of the executives have commented. They're supposedly going to make a statement. And here's what they tweet at 11:20 a.m. today. CBDCs will help modernize the world of finance by enabling established financial institutions to power new opportunities. This report explores CBDC benefits like expanding access to financial services. What are the chances? Now, just for fun, the digital asset investor went to ChatGPT and typed this in. Write a 2-paragraph story about how the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and the contagion leads to the adoption of XRP. I love this. Once upon a time, Silicon Valley Bank was a leading institution that provided financial services to tech startups in the eponymous tech hub. However, in the wake of the severe economic downturn, many of the startups that SVB had invested in went bankrupt, causing the bank to experience significant financial loss. Let's go down to this part. This is where XRP, a digital asset designed to facilitate cross-border payments, stepped in. XRP provided a solution to the instability and the inefficiencies of traditional banking systems by allowing for faster and more secure cross-border transactions. The adoption of XRP was slow at first, but as more and more people lost faith in the traditional financial system, its popularity grew. Eventually, XRP became the go-to currency for tech startups and business in Silicon Valley, providing a safe and efficient way to conduct transactions without the need for a centralized financial institution. In the end, the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and the contagion it caused led to a financial revolution with XRP at its forefront. I couldn't have written a story better myself. Good job, ChatGPT. Then what about this? I bet a lot of companies would love to have some of their dormant Nostro Vostro capital in hand about now. Too bad Gary Gensler has kept Ripple tied up in a lawsuit that's almost over for over 2 years, right? All right, check out the list. This is just, the list of companies involved in this. You're looking at if you look, Circle had 3.3 billion that they can't get to. Roku, 487 billion. BlockFi, 227 million. Roblox, 150 million. It goes on and on. Then you had Paradigm had 1.72 billion. Pantera, 560. A16Z, 2.85 billion. That's just from that filing. Here's Janet Yellen, who she's commenting on what they will and won't do.
Let me be clear that during the financial crisis, there were investors and owners of systemic large banks that were bailed out, and we're certainly not looking, and the reforms that have been put in place means that we're not going to do that again. But we are concerned about depositors and are focused on trying.
That's the key. They're concerned about depositors. We don't want to bail out shareholders. Depositors. The depositors are what matter. The depositors, there are startups out the wazoo that literally don't know how they're going to pay their people starting on Monday. That is what's important.
Their needs.
Can you say whether these problems were unique to Silicon Valley Bank, or can you say whether there will be other regional bank failures?
Well, look, let me just say that we want to make sure that the troubles that exist at one bank don't create contagion.
All right. So contagion is the magic word, and I want to point out, she's saying they won't bail out. Now, if you remember, bailouts are what they did in 2008 in the financial crisis. In order to get the bailouts, they had to go to the politicians, and Hank Paulson literally had to kneel down to Nancy, lunatic, whack job, crazy person Nancy Pelosi. He had to kneel to her so that she would talk her party into doing the bailouts, okay? That was when they decided we can't do this again. Next time we're going to do bail-ins, and we're going to write into the policies of all these banks that's what we're going to do. Here in the Financial Times, she says the same thing. But we're concerned about depositors. We're focused on trying to meet their needs. So they're not going to bail out the shareholders, which I agree with, okay? And then Wolf of Wall Street says, best guess, a major bank bails out SVB tomorrow morning. Government starts printing sooner or later to add liquidity. It won't be Goldman. It won't be JP Morgan. They bailed out Bear already and got flack from the regulator. Bank of America, PNC, Morgan Stanley. Those are his predictions. Then there's this Bill Ackman, who came out yesterday, and he says, there will be bank runs everywhere on Monday unless the FDIC does system-wide guarantee. FDIC only has $124.5 billion on its balance sheet, $100 billion line of credit, U.S. bank system, $22 trillion. Disturbing, Then, so he says bank run by Monday. Well, this is not the first time that kind of idea has been floated. Look at this, right? I'm not going to play this because I don't know if it'll copyright hit me. If we don't do, all right, here it is. This is a clip. That's the guy that played Ben Bernanke. It's a clip from the movie Too Big to Fail. If you're wondering what's going on at the Fed today, we've seen this movie. Last time it was a bailout. They learned they could never depend on the moron politicians again in this type of situation, so they wrote into the bank's policy bail-ins. He said the same thing that Bill Ackman said in that tweet back then. We don't do this. If we don't do this now, we won't have an economy by Monday morning. I mean, that's literally what we're looking at in this country on this Sunday. And then Bill Ackman tweeted this out too. From a source I trust at SVB, depositors will get 50% on Monday, Tuesday, and the balance based on realized value over the next 3 to 6 months. If this proves true, I expect there will be bank runs beginning Monday a.m. at a large number of non-SIB banks. No company will take even a tiny chance of losing $1 of deposits, as there's no reward for this risk. So what he's basically saying is that everybody, and I would tell my own mother this, everybody is going to take their money out of these smaller banks and they're going to put it into the Bank of America's, the top tier banks, the top 3 or 4, because those are the ones that the federal government cannot let fail. Those are the too big to fail now. And that's what they're going to do. Then Eleanor Terrett put out this new regional banks to watch. These are all the regional banks that were in the red yesterday. And so what everybody's saying is going to happen is everybody's going to start pulling their money out of these banks and shifting it into these larger banks. So something to think about. Now, this is important for you to realize before I show you the clip I'm about to show you. This is from Mario Nawfal. Breaking 12 days ago, Gregory Becker, the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank, sold 11% of his shares. Daniel Beck, the CFO, sold 32% of his holdings. CMO Michelle Draper sold 28%. Something doesn't seem right. Well, the same guy, I think the CEO, Gregory Becker, is this guy who puts this out to the people that work at his bank. And rightly so, the official cool guy, the digital asset investor channel, is laughing at him saying, I care about you. He sold his shares a week or 2 ago, folks, or a lot of his shares. And this is
everyone. It's with incredibly heavy heart that I'm here to deliver this message today. I want to acknowledge how hard the last really 48 hours have been on all of you, and I care so much about all of you. It really is just...
I wonder if he cared when he was selling his shares a week or 2 ago. I'm not going to stomach the rest of that. Charles Gasparino has some sources here. Scoop, I'm getting kind of mixed messages here. Scoop, Silicon Valley VC CEOs getting word from White House that Joe Biden's against any bailout of SVB, like extending deposit insurance well above $250K. That could change if Federal Reserve does believe there's some systemic risk of bank runs, which there is evidence. And then he says, Scoop, bankers with knowledge of the SVB situation say depositors in the bank are being told they will receive 30 to 50%. Now, that's what Bill Ackman said. Of their money Monday and most of the rest over time, there's no solution, i.e. complete FDIC coverage or sale. We should know what's going on down today. Okay, so this is interesting. So go to check out that Mario guy's Twitter feed, because he's been having these live Twitter spaces. And I was literally watching baseball yesterday while I'm listening to the fascinating. There's all kinds of interesting things coming out. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. We live in some interesting